Painting Doll Faces by Preble McDaniel. Supplies: acrylic paint, clay, or beads for heads. Tools I'll be using: paint brushes, a 20-aught liner, ultra fine, 20-aught spotter, and toothpicks. For face ideas, I suggest doing a search for printable doll face. I will be starting today with an oval bead head. This is my 20-aught liner ultra fine. To load the paintbrush for painting fine lines, I first wet the brush in water and remove excess water with a paper towel. Next, I dip the brush in the paint and use a rolling dragging motion to remove excess paint and to shape the brush. I'm also creating a line as I do so. If I'm satisfied with the line created, I can move to my head, otherwise I will do a test line. When painting a head, I like to start with the eyes. I want to create an outline. If I make my line too thick or the eye smaller than I like, I may continue as I'm doing here, as I can resolve this later. I have switched to my 20-aught spotter. I will use it to add the white of the eyes. I will try to keep a thin outline of the black. Still using my 20-aught spotter, I will add the irises. When painting the irises, it is important to think about where the eye is looking. The irises should be in the same place on each eye. On this face, the eyes will be looking forward rather than to the side. Here I am testing my 20-aught spotter on making thin lines. It is possible, but I don't like what I'm getting. Each brush type and size will give different result. I've switched back to my 20-aught liner. Notice how I'm removing lots of excess paint as I roll the brush. I'm painting a semblance of a nose. I need to remove a mistake, so I wet the tip of a toothpick and gently remove the paint. This works well on the bead. Now to add some eyelashes. Eyelashes could be a full set or just a couple. I use the toothpick again to remove some of the eyelashes so that I can paint some more. I switch back to my 20-aught spotter to do the pupils. Similar to the iris location, pupil location is important as well. I want these eyes to look to the center. I've added some additional paint to my palette so I can do the lips and the cheeks. I like to use a lighter color of peach or pink. I want a more natural look versus bright lipstick. When painting the lips, one could do an outline with black, similar to how the eyes were done. I want her to look like she is smiling but without showing teeth, so I'm making the lips fuller. I'm switching to the lighter color of pink, and I add water to it to create a wash to do the cheeks. This may be very faint and hard to see on camera. I wasn't satisfied with this, so I'm using my second technique for removing paint. I dip a brush in water and wet the spot and wipe away the paint. My next example is done on a round bead. The difference between the oval and round bead is placement of the features. This bead has about the same area for a face, but I try to keep in mind that I will add hair. So I will try to make these eyes a tiny bit smaller than before. For each of the examples on this video, I have used a toothpick inserted in the bead to hold it. The toothpick is then taped to my lid I'm using as a palette. However, when I make clay heads, I will make a hole only at the bottom. The toothpick may not be enough to hold it in place, so I would use some museum wax as well. I switched to my 20-aught spotter to add the white of the eyes. Ideally, there will be a very thin line of black when I am done. I may vary in the steps I take to paint a doll face. I find it easier to paint at different stages rather than concentrate on a feature like the eyes. This allows the paint to dry and it gives me a mental break as well. Switching to the blue paint for the irises. Placement is always important. Eyes normally work together, so we want to paint them matching. Time to add pupils. Again, matching is important. They do not necessarily have to be in the center of the irises, since the lid could hide part of the iris. Now for some eyelashes. Eyelashes can be thin or thick, depending on how many to be added, and they can be straight or curved. I didn't like some of the eyelashes, so I'm going to remove them with the brush and water. However, the liner brush is not my best choice, so I switched to the spotter. I use my toothpick to clean up a little bit of excess on the eye. Placement of each feature is important. With the lips, the consideration is space for the chin. When creating a wash, I add water until I get thin, watery paint. Since I use the brush for mixing, I do need to wipe off the excess before I apply the wash to the cheeks. When I apply too much that may run or dry too thick, I will sometimes use my finger to remove excess water. I gently pat the spot to do this. To do a touch-up, I wet the brush to gently remove the paint. Now I will demonstrate using a toothpick to paint with. The toothpicks I'm using are round and have a sharp point. If I didn't have a sharp point, I could use my craft knife to shape it. For doll eyes, they do not have to look like real eyes. I could use dots instead. However, by dragging the dot, I start the more real eye look. For this nose, I'm using red paint for a rag doll look. Switching to white, I'm now adding the white to the eye. It's back to the red for a center lip. Switching to blue, I'm adding the irises. I'm using the black to finish the smile. Making lines on a bead with a toothpick is more challenging, but it's still doable. I'm not happy with the line, so I am now using the toothpick as a removal tool. It helps to wet the toothpick, then the paint isn't just scraped away, it is wiped away as well. An alternative to lines for this style of face would be to make dots instead. Sometimes when I want things to match, I will go back over the first thing to add to it. Mixing in some water to this pink paint to make a wash. I need to add enough water. The toothpick is not very good for this. So I add water with my finger instead. After mixing, I'll wipe away excess before applying the blush to the cheeks. Using a toothpick requires to try different techniques of painting. In using this wash, it is better to pick up a drop of paint and touching it to the bead rather than painting it. Here are some finished examples. Each of these beads could be used for a doll head in 1/12 scale. It just depends on the size of the doll desired. For 1/24 scale, the doll head could be for a person-sized doll or is smaller than just a doll. For 1/48 scale, the smallest beads I've shown would make a head for a person doll. Even smaller beads than would be needed for a doll. This one seems like a guy face to me. And this one shows the difference of adding eyebrows. Thank you for watching my video. For other how-tos about multiple projects and the techniques I use, visit my how-to blog, mini-smallpackages.blogspot.com.